Abracadabra.
Alakazam. Laura and Quint Gage. Welcome to the Carrie Croft Show.
Carrie Croft. The
I
places
mean, let's
you've
just
been.
drink each other in.
Yes.
Let's just drink each other in. You look good.
Thank you.
The sun, you look a little sun-kissed, healthy.
We get out in the sun a bit.
You've moved. I mean, you made the move quick, which I admire and appreciate.
We just ripped the Band-Aid off.
Mm-hmm. So for people out there who don't know you and they're like, okay, who are Laura and Quint, right? So Laura and Quint happen to be very near and dear to my heart. Probably my top 10 of all time, right? Yes, you're in the top 10. So we met each other. You guys were clients of SOS. I mean, you came
Back in
to
the
SOS
garage.
like what? Yeah. So it was like what year do you think you were in there?
Chase graduated 2013, and he was
there
with us. Yeah.
So you guys came in as clients, and our relationship sort of evolved from there. What we were talking about before this started is kind of like life is what happens when you think you're making plans, all of a sudden it's like life throws shit at you. You guys have been through some stuff. And you're very inspiring to so many people. And I'm hopeful that people who don't know you until now that are just laying eyes on you can see your story and be like, wow, you really can weave in the tragedy with the triumph and continue to chase life in spite of the hard. And you guys, that's what I admire most about you guys more than anything is how you've been able to find the joy and chase life. So let's talk about some of the stuff you've been through. Quint, back in the day, you fought cancer. Moving forward, you guys lost Chase in a car accident, which is just unthinkable. As you continue to move down the road, then Quint most recently has, can we call it a near-death experience? You were in pretty bad shape, right?
Heart, liver, kidney failure.
So let's start with you going through cancer. Let's start making it about you.
Oh, great.
You handsome
I
devil,
love that.
you. And this pattern and everything going on with the colors. I mean, I can't wait to see the social clips on this. I am into it.
Should have worn my black turtleneck.
I mean, you're just like a fine wine.
Who is your stylist?
I don't know.
It's amazing.
My mother.
So let's talk about when you found out you had cancer, what type of cancer you had, and what all that looked like.
Well, I was moving from jobs. I used to be a principal at Barrington in Upper Arlington, and I was moving to Montrose and Bexley. And we were at the beach, and I felt something on my testicle. And I was like, we have to probably go in and check that out. So 2 days before I was going to start my job as principal of Montrose, I found out that I had testicular cancer. So, had to call the superintendent, all that. Luckily, we caught it early, and 6 weeks of chemo, and I was back to normal after. So this was August. By Christmas, I was growing my hair back. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But when you're going through that, it's scary. You're like, am I going to live through this? They're putting poison in my arm 6 days a week, and
at that time, it was probably the hardest thing you've been through.
I would say, we went through the death of my dad, who also had testicular cancer and then died of prostate cancer. So that was about 10 years before. And so, all of those memories are coming through as we're going through mine. And I'm like, oh, am I going to get prostate cancer 5 years from now and die? So those are always in the back of your head. So, as the cancer was getting further back in our memory, we started feeling more normal.
And so then life continues to sort of bob and weave and hum along, right?
Yeah.
And then I will never forget where I was when I found out about Chase. And I got an email from Katie.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, what do you even remember about when you found out? Where were you? Were you sleeping?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, Selby, who was 18 months older than Chase, they were the best of buds. And she had just gotten home from college. And there was a knock at the door at 3:04. And Quint goes downstairs and immediately says, Laura, you need to come down here. We're standing in the foyer. And, it's surreal. Two police officers, I think, were standing there. And they said, come on in, let's go sit down. We went into the living room. And I just remember kind of leaning against the couch and them telling us that he'd been in a car accident. And within seconds, Selby had come down the steps, and the three of us, I just remember her saying, what's going on? And I said, Chasey died. And from there on, I don't remember us not touching. Like, I remember Selby and Quint and I just kind of holding on to each other and eventually kind of ending up on the ground, and Quint sort of dismissing the police officers. We didn't need them to stay. And, for the night and then the following days, I just remember the three of us touching constantly. Like, we didn't ever leave a room without holding each other's hands. And
Yeah, it's never a knock on the door that you want to
no.
have.
You try to picture what you would think and feel and all these things. And I just picture I would be so mad. I would be so angry. Like, why and how? Why me? Right? I'm sure you went through that. I'm sure, a lot of feelings. How were you able, because you guys really do, and I know it's not all positive. I know when you lose someone in that way, it never goes away. I know you still deal with all of that. But how do you, as a mom, individually as a father, and then as a family, how do you figure out a way to take the why me, the anger, the raw, like missing him, and then parlay it into, we're going to focus on Chase life, we're going to honor him? Like, how, I'm sure it's a constant progression, but how do you do that?
I remember, I don't even know if we've ever even talked about this, but I remember that night, we ended up upstairs, the three of us lying in our bed, and within, an hour, less than that even, Quint was having to deal with phone calls from the hospital because Chase was an organ donor. So Selby and I were lying in bed together, and Quint had gone in the other room, and the positive about this is that they were able to harvest, I guess is the word you use, more parts than typical because he was in such great shape and he was young and healthy. And I think that they used 7 different body parts. And so Quint had to deal with all of that. And by the time he was off the phone with all of that and he came in, I don't know if it was that night or the next night, but I remember feeling like the room wasn't big enough for our grief. And I thought enough at that moment that, other people have gone through this. It's not only us. And I know that most couples struggle, and it's a very hard thing to get through and may not make it. And saying something like that to Quint, like, I can't endure my pain and your pain at the same time. This room can't contain what we're feeling. And he said, you had me first, or, we were a thing first. So that's our core. So we're not going to lose that. And then in the days that followed, I remember consciously choosing sadness, like consciously saying, I'm not going to question, what the hell? Why did Chase, I thought, his friends told me later on that he had already been out that night and he had gone back home and gone to bed. And one of his friends called and wanted him to give him a ride to go get something to eat. So, I don't want to go down that line. I don't want to blame his buddy. I don't want to blame his friends. I don't want to ask what if. I just wanted to be sad. And so that conscious focus of saying, I'm not going to allow any other feelings to come in here. I'm just going to allow the grief to take over.
Did you handle it in that same way, or did you have more? Because I can imagine wanting to be that way, but I also can feel like I would maybe what if myself to death. Like, wait, why did you ask him to go to eat? Why did you get back in the car? Like, was it the same for you, or did you have a more challenging time not beating like that horse?
I guess for me, I was, it's like when you're dealing with the trauma, you kind of focus on what needs done. Like, I'm there with Selby, I'm there with Laura. We have a parade of people coming through the house. It's just like, I was obviously very sad. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I'm like, my focus was always on, we're going to get through this. We need to stay together. We need to support each other. And, as time stretches out, you end up forgetting all of the trauma and all that. And you remember the good stuff. So remember how he smiled and all the great times you had with him. And so I was trying to get there, having dealt with, the death of my dad, who, it was traumatic. And obviously he had a little longer runway than Chase, because he died of cancer, and, the cancer kind of took him bits at a time. But I just remember trying to be like, how can we get over this hurdle? How can we put as much time between the event and and how we're feeling.
Going back to what you just said about couples having a really hard time dealing with this type of stuff, and I can, in my own way, I understand that, very different than you, but, it's all kind of in the same vein.
Yep.
What would you say, along with Quint, kind of what he said to you about, like, it was us first, like, we created this family and it's me and you, but looking at the really hard moments where you're, not even able to pick yourself up off the floor, or when you have the really bad days and you guys trying to figure out not only your individual grief, but the collective dynamic that is now forming with the grief between the two of you, what would you say to someone out there right now who's dealing with something horrible and they don't know how to pick themselves up, they don't know how their marriage is going to make it? Like, what are the things you would say, being this far removed from the situation, to help somebody else?
Don't be afraid to say yes to help. I felt like we had a wonderful community around us, great friends. There was the meal train. All these people, wanted to be at our house, wanted to come over. And you have to embrace that. You can't go lock your bedroom door and sit in your bed and cry all day. That's not healthy. So embrace the people that want to help. And even a lot of people didn't know what to say. We had friends that reacted by coming and having an emotional hurricane in our house. And we had friends that said, for 6 months, I didn't know what to say to you guys, so I just didn't. And that's okay too, because everyone deals with it differently.
Would you recommend to someone, though, like, to always say something? Or is that, because that's kind of my thing. I'm like, I feel like when you don't say anything, it just feels a little like, would you say, like, being in your shoes, you'd rather have somebody be awkward and have two left feet than sort of not say something for 6 months?
I don't know, because Quint and I are really different. I mean, you know me, I'm more of an introvert. Even during all of that, I remember thinking, just subconsciously, Chase can't eat, Chase can't drink. And it was very strange, but, there were certain people saying, you need to eat, and I didn't eat for probably 2 weeks. And, and I didn't drink at all, just because I thought I can't handle the thought of having a glass of wine. But in the meantime, that's what brought him solace, was sitting at the table with his friends and everybody supporting. And I guess my advice to somebody would be to allow grace. I think we were very, very careful with each other. I think we were just, I will support you in any way that I can. I'll just be here, which you could also do with your friends. I mean, I think, to your point, you don't necessarily have to say anything, but just the fact that people were just there for us. If you're just there, that means, it speaks a whole lot more than some of the things that we babble sometimes. Just, I'm here for you. I love you, and I know this is a traumatic time for you, and I'm here.
I guess I like it when people say, I thought about Chase the other day, or, that just or like when people wear Chase Life shirts. Mm-hmm. You see, people walking down the street with a Chase Life shirt, that makes us feel, or makes me feel comforted.
That brings me to a question, a curiosity, because you probably want people to continue talking about him. Like, you don't want people to forget. How does that affect you, especially as a mom, where it's like, Chase is like, I want somebody to talk, like, I want to talk about him. Right. Like, but then all of a sudden it becomes this awkward thing because nobody wants to talk about it. Do you feel like, well, but I want to talk about him?
That's an interesting question, because we just moved. I guess we'll get to that with strike 3 in our saga of Grandview and Columbus area, people having to lift us back up on our feet yet again. But we just moved to North Carolina, and I was out the other day down on our little beach and ended up talking to this young guy who, by the time Quint got there, I'm like, doesn't he remind you of Chase? And, and I'd already told this kid the whole story. He's like, works at our Chase Bank, and he's, this young entrepreneur kind of guy, and he just was friendly. And I guess my point is that being here, I didn't tell the story very often. I didn't have to talk about him or explain him, because I felt like our entire community knew him or was told of him, or SOS shared all about him. And we always felt that people just kind of embraced us and understood us. Whereas now, it was okay. Like, to your point, we have gained a little less jagged memories, and I was able to see this young kid and go, let me tell you about my son, because you remind me so much of all these amazing parts of him. And it was pretty cool because he was interested, and it was nice.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely awkward moments where when you're meeting somebody, it's like, how many kids do you have? It's like, well, we have a daughter, and that's why we're here, and we have a grandson, but we had another son who died in a car accident. So it's like sometimes you go, oh, we have a daughter, and you move on, like
How much
checkout
time
counter.
do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
How well do you want to know us?
But people you're going to see again, you feel like you need to backfill that story in a little bit more, so it doesn't get weird when they're like, oh, I wonder why he didn't tell us that 3 months ago.
And you're like trying to figure out how to make
Right.
that other person comfortable.
Yeah.
Speaking of Selby, let's talk about Miss Selby for a minute. When I would come into your home and I would see Selby, and I'd give her a hug, and I would, in my mind, I'm just like thinking about her age. And, I have a brother that's 14 months younger than me. And I just was trying to figure out in my head, like, God, what is she thinking? What is her heart? Like, I mean, you can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
How do you think over time now, seeing Selby now married as a mom, and how did this shape her?
I have to first say that I think that Oliver came into all of our lives at just the moment that he repaired a lot of things in us that, he's a perfect counterpart for Selby. They are just magical together. I mean, you're not always magical, but, they, at a time that really could have completely destroyed Selby. She's in college. She had to leave us after that and go back to college 10 hours away. And knowing that she's always had him there, right beside her, has been, just such a positive thing. And she's good. I mean, I think now that she's a mom with another baby on the way, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about spreading Chase's ashes, but we don't talk about that. I guess I should ask Selby, do you feel a lot of pain in knowing that Chase will never be around to know your babies?
Oh, you guys don't talk about it.
We've never really had that conversation. And I guess it's not that we shy away from it. I guess in this moment, I'm realizing this is another major benchmark in life that for the first few years, we were thinking, gosh, this is the first time that we've gone here without Chase, or this is the first time we've flown on a plane without Chase, or whatever, and we're not doing those firsts anymore. But now that she's a mom, I'm sure that that's a big deal to her.
But God, those conversations, can be so big that it's like you have it on this little shelf, and you're like, should I get it out right now?
Right.
I don't know.
Let's push it away a little bit.
Should we get it out right now? Because I don't know what's going to happen. I can imagine that's, not that you're stuffing it or you're not, communicative. It's just kind of just hard, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure this episode might open up some channels.
I'm sure she's listening.
Let me give a sidebar for Oliver, because I'm a stan of Oliver, meaning a super fan. And Oliver, I love you so much. Aww. And I still believe in your rap career, even if it's just you rapping to me here and there.
You were front row, girl.
Oh, God. I just still can't believe it. I really think he's got... Anyway, we won't go down this whole rabbit hole, but I do think Oliver's talented. I think he's a talented rapper.
I can tell you that there are nights that we've maybe opened another bottle of wine and we're with new friends and we'll go, have you ever heard Oxenfree rap? And then we'll send a text to Oliver and he's like, come on, you guys, at some point you've just got to let it go.
So he's totally done. He's never going to come back.
I mean, never say never, right?
I think he's done. Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit more about Chase. And then we'll turn the corner. But do you ever dream about him, or where do you feel the most connected to him?
The last vacation we had with him was Laura's family. Her parents' 50th wedding anniversary was done in Aruba. So he died in May, and that was over Christmas, New Year's, 6 months before. So we go to Aruba probably once a year now, and feel like that's a place where, one, it's a beautiful place to be. It is. But it reminds us of Chase for some reason, or at least it does for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're actually going for Selby's 30th birthday this winter. I had a dream really only one, maybe 2 years after Chase died. And, you know, we tried a couple times to go to therapy, and it was just way too early. You know, Quentin, Selby, and I would go there, and we couldn't even talk. We were crying the whole time and going, this isn't accomplishing a whole lot. And so I went maybe a couple years later after having this dream, and I told a therapist about it. And it was really validating because she said, you know, I believe that was really him trying to get through to you and trying to come. But it was such a vivid dream, and it's the only dream I've ever had. And I remember seeing this figure coming towards me kind of out of the mist, and it's a robed figure kind of being held up by another one. And as they get closer, I realize there's water pouring off of him, and he gets, you know, within just a few feet, and he lifts his head up, and water's pouring off of him, and he's beaming and says, "Hi, Mama." Which is, I mean, it was his voice, you know. And so this therapist said, I don't know how much you've studied about dream analysis, but the water is significant. And, you know, the fact that he was needing to be held up, it was probably very much of a travel situation for him to get back to be able to communicate with you. And I mean, it touched me very much, and it's the only dream I've ever had. But
what does the grief feel like today? So I'm sure that in the first, several years, it was like pick yourself up off the floor days, like days where you don't even, maybe you do leave the couch, but like you could literally sit and just be in your sadness. What does it feel like today? Does it feel more numb, or do you still have days where you just sit and cry? Like, how does that work now?
I think our default emotion is happiness. I mean, I just don't think that he and I are the kind of people who can't get themselves back up. And I don't know that we've ever necessarily had to drag each other back up. I think that it just is maybe part of our DNA. And one thing that has always been kind of therapeutical for us is to be outside. And we spend
we just move
a lot of time kind of like keep moving, SOS. I mean, all of that, you know, I think we enjoy pushing our bodies and exercising. And I remember many times finishing a class at SOS and just lying on the mat sobbing. Like you push yourself that far. And so it's physical. You know, the physical parts are what I think we do tons of wheelbarrow trips with rocks at our new house. And we're constantly digging in the yard and chopping wood. And, you know, we just feel really good when we're moving and when we're outside. So
yeah, and I mean, you've definitely channeled your grief with Chase Life and the Chase, right? I mean, that's been a huge thing every single year to remember him and to celebrate him, and it's such a positive example on how you can find joy and you can find a gift in something so tragic. And I'm sure that's helped you guys channel. I mean, the community comes,
absolutely.
You're moving, you're remembering your son. I mean, it's all just incredible.
You've been with us every single step
Yeah, I
of
think
the
I
way.
might have missed one year.
Well, I mean, back to the whole idea of, you know, us needing to pick each other up. Like, honestly, I don't know how anybody makes it through situations like this without the support system that we were given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, as if this isn't enough of
Here
a
comes
situation,
strike 3.
so now we're trucking along.
Yeah.
And then Quint, you go in for like a typical procedure?
You know, I was feeling strange for a couple months. Like, you know, we wear these Garmin watches and, you know, it tracks your heart rate and your, what they call your body battery. And mine was like, my stress level was really high. My heart rate was like racing. My body battery was at 5, which is the lowest it can go, for about 2 months. And, you know, I felt like it was manifesting itself like lactose intolerance or like
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux or whatever. Just felt weird in my stomach. And I went into the doctor. This was last year before Thanksgiving. And the doctor, you know, listened to my heart and he goes, you know, you're an AFib. And I was like, I don't know what AFib is. What is that? And he goes, well, your heart is beating weird. You know, it's like a mushy, it's not like thump, 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 thump. It's like blah, 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 blah. So he said, you know, take these 2 pills. You know, people live with this all the time. It's not a big deal. You know, take these 2 pills, you know, go do Thanksgiving and come back next week and and we'll do an ultrasound of your heart. So I did that the next week, and, we were just going to work. I had that ultrasound at like 8 a.m. I was like, I told Laura, I said, if someone calls you, like if this is a bigger deal, answer your phone, because she's at work at school. And so, she gets a call from a cardiologist, and
Hi,
apparently
I'm the head cardiologist here. I'm just calling for Quint. And I'm like, is this a joke? No, we've decided that he needs to have heart catheterization, and we're scheduling him for first thing Monday morning. And so Selby was on maternity leave. Lucky girl, got to spend her whole maternity leave here.
Yeah. So basically, they go in and they put a stent in my heart, and I'm coming out, and my blood pressure just drops to 0, and so that shocks my kidney, my liver, and my heart was already kind of messed up. Long story short, they feel like it was a virus or something attacking my heart, but I ended up in the cardiac ICU at OSU for about 16 days last December, and everybody but me thought I was dying. Like, my sister shows up from Atlanta, my brother shows up from Morgantown, West Virginia. I've friends from flying in, her brothers. I'm like, why are you guys here? Visiting me in the hospital? That's weird. And so apparently everyone thought I was dying except for me, because I was like, everybody get out here. Can we go to Aruba? We were supposed to go to Aruba, over Christmas holiday. And
I wrote his obituary.
You did?
I mean, he was having one procedure after another, and they would try something. They'd get him out of AFib. They did the thing where they shocked his heart at one point to try to get it back into regular rhythm. And
did you read it?
I didn't show it to him. It's still in my purse. Things might change.
Yeah. You're saving it for later.
Were you like, damn, you got that pen out real fast, lady?
Right.
No, OSU.
Quick with the pen.
I went to... the OSU is incredible. I mean, from the parking attendants to the food service to, the people that stamp your little ticket to obviously all these cardiac teams, and I don't know. At one point, they were doing something, and I went down and found the gallery. It was like a Wexner gallery, and there was this really beautiful traveling display that was there, and I don't know. It was all about nature and being outside and appreciating pretty much Chase life,
Yeah.
and I thought, this is very apt that I'm reading this right now while he's having this massive procedure, and luckily I didn't have to use that.
So I'm stuck on this because, so it's in her purse.
I don't know.
You see, this is so, I would have wanted to see this and know, like, what did you say about me? You're just like, okay.
He's got a lot to live up to still, so
Yeah.
I can't let him
I'm
see
still
it yet.
writing my story.
That is wild. So do you feel any different about death now that this all happened with Chase? Like, do you feel differently about dying?
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's one of those things our culture is not good at. We're surprised when, a 95-year-old person dies. I wish we could talk about it more, be more prepared for it, and then, celebrate the life, because, it just makes people sad when they say someone died, and you're like, we're all going to die. It's going to happen to everybody on the planet, and I just don't know why our culture doesn't embrace it a little more.
Make it less dark and
Right.
isolated and more, morbid maybe. Agreed. So with your health now, what's happening? So you look good, you're on some meds, like they're just monitoring your heart and everything else. Do you feel good? Like
I feel good. To look at me, my doctors say that I'm still sicker than I feel. So, I'm taking like 8 different medications to keep everything, to keep my heart rate in rhythm, my blood pressure low, my heart in rhythm. Luckily, my liver and kidney came back, because when I first was released from the hospital, I had to go to dialysis 3 times a week, and that is not something I would wish on anybody.
Because that's, first of all, it's 3 times a week, and then how long does it take? And
it takes about 4 hours.
And so you're just sitting there.
You're sitting there hooked up to a machine. Your blood's pumping out of your body into the machine so it cleans. and then back in. So you're just like,
He came back every time. Like Oliver would get up. It was during that horrible cold snap, right when he got out of the hospital last year at Christmas. That freezing cold snap that was going on. And Oliver would get up with him at 5 o'clock in the morning and drive him to dialysis. And Quint would come home every time with so much empathy towards these people who had to do this for the rest of their lives, you know. And he said,
luckily, I only had to do it for 4 weeks,
Yeah.
but you know, some people that's how they live. That's
said,
what's
I
keeping
feel so
them
sorry
alive.
for these people who have to live this way.
So you can't really get your heart rate super high then. Can you ride your bike and do all that?
Oh yeah. Like we still walk, you know, 4 or 5 miles a day. I get out, we ride our spin bikes in, you know, inclement weather. And I've been getting out on my road bike more. There's a mountain bike trail real close to us. I've been out on my mountain bike.
You water skied.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
I went water skiing this.
Do you you don't seem like you have a lot of anxiety, but do you look at him and you're like, oh, you're water skiing now? I'm good. Like, because do you feel like he's fragile, or are you like, no, we're just going to live life. We're doing this.
I really do think that we live, I mean, I don't know. His dissertation was on mindfulness, and he's not the most mindful person, but I do feel that our lifestyle is pretty much appreciating the moment. And like he said, you know, I mean, nothing's guaranteed. It's terribly tragic when something happens to somebody who we're not expecting. But I think we've learned that in this moment, I need to appreciate being here with Carrie Croft, and I don't want to be thinking of anything else. I don't want to be worrying about anything else. I want to enjoy this.
God, if only everyone could think that way, right? To be that present and to kind of be able to compartmentalize. It's just so hard for so many people. Would you just say he's not the most mindful person? I wasn't going to let you get away with that. So let's for people at home that are like, oh, wait, hold on, bring that one back. Mindful about.
What do I get on you about?
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna let you
I
answer
want I want the marital yip yap. What do you get on him about?
He fiddles a lot. I don't know. He's like a definite podcaster. He's always doing something on his phone.
Oh.
So, I mean.
You're addicted to social media.
I'm not addicted to social media, but I like.
You like those little funny reels.
Right.
Admitting you
what
have a
is
problem
that?
is the first step,
Yeah.
Quint.
Okay. So maybe I don't have a problem. I don't feel like I have a problem, but like when I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't sleep, you know, I'll listen to a podcast and, something like that. So she's always like, what are you doing with your headphones over there?
I see.
Because most of the time,
Guilty as charged.
he
Yes.
drops them. I mean, and then he's like digging under the bed. And
Oh, well, this comes down to a sleep issue. I mean, if someone's doing that and you're in a slumber and then he's over here with his
Exactly.
Okay, I get that.
we are going to a sleep apnea because it's all related to the AFib. So
Okay.
fingers crossed that next week's doctor's appointments
Okay.
Yeah.
find a remedy.
Turnabout's fair play. What is like the thing that just irks you?
Careful.
Pick wisely.
No, nothing that irks me about
No.
Laura.
Oh, now I know you're lying.
Yeah.
Like something. There's
Yeah, I
got to be
wanna hear.
something.
She has gotten, I think, with our grandson, gotten a little bit more cautious than she used to be. Like, why are you putting your brakes down going on a bike ride, going down this hill, But she's always been a little bit like that on a bike. But
I feel like most women, I mean, on a dial of most women,
Yeah.
you're pretty low. So you're lucky on that because, I mean, I'm crazy town when it comes to stuff. You should see me in the car with Brady. He's like, I can't, like, you just need to drive. Like, I cannot with you.
Because you're constantly making
Because I'm
comments.
afraid, if I hear an ambulance and they're not home, I mean, like, I definitely can get woohoo. So back to the heart situation. When you say they think you had a virus,
yeah.
like, do they, like, where would that have?
So I had COVID July, the summer before, and then I had the booster shot, whatever that was, in October. But since I had COVID, I felt a little funny, and they didn't know if it was COVID. They didn't know if it was another virus, but they said they would have treated my symptoms the same way regardless. So whatever it did, it did it, and they had to treat it how they did. And so I'm not like looking back going, oh dang, it was this or that.
Right.
It's like, All
Well,
right,
but
let's deal with this.
I was thinking that because I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, was it COVID? Was
They-
it the
they don't
vaccine?
know.
Because no one knows, and it's
Yeah.
so scary, and it's such a weird topic because everyone's
Right.
so strong one way or
Yeah.
the other about
It's
the
very
vaccine and all
political.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that was what I was thinking when you said they think it might have been a virus. You're like, what the fuck?
But the medical, I mean, these experts who we grew to love and trust, they said, yeah, it could have been one or the other. It could have been COVID, or it could have been that vaccine that you did.
Did they say that?
Yeah, and so we said, well, what do we do now? And they said, well, get your flu shot, but no more boosters or vaccines for you, because we don't know. I mean, in 10 years, you'll be a great petri dish for us, but right now,
I don't want to be the petri
we have
dish.
no idea.
All right, so let's fast forward to today. You guys said, okay, bye-bye Grandview. We're moving closer to Selby and Oliver and the babe.
Yep.
Okay. I love that decision. It didn't take you very long at all, right? You just kind of were like,
Well, honestly, I mean, we'd been on the countdown 8 years, 5 years, 3 years. You know, we're both in education, and we knew right when we could get out. You know, we loved our careers, but we had a finish line in mind. And funniest thing about it was he's, you know, winding up his time in the hospital. He had this epiphany one night, which is another funny story, but he knew that he was over it. Like, he woke up one day, he's like, get down here as quickly as you can. I have to tell you something. And so in the previous days before that, Oliver's like, what the hell is Quint doing? Like, he bought new skis yesterday. And then we'd get down there the next day, and he's like, yeah, I bought a whole new Sonos system. And today I bought an e-bike. And we're like, do you think you're dying? Like, are you trying to spend all the money that I'm going to need when you're gone? He's like, you know, I was either going to go out with a bang, or I was realizing, you know, we're going to have more time now, because strike one, strike two, strike three, we're not going back to work. We need to appreciate what we have right now. So he got out of the hospital, and we started kind of purging our basement and throwing stuff away and going, all right, we're going to figure out a way to get you healthy, get you stress-free, keep coming to your doctors. But in the meantime, family's going to cure this. We need to be closer to the kids. We need to be close to that little grandbaby.
was there what was the emotional like pulling away from that house? Was there a lot of that, or were you like just done?
I feel like we got everything we could possibly have ever wished for from this whole community, and we were ready to step away, because the only thing that we, you know, really still needed were our relationships. And look at us, we still have all of our relationships.
Yep. Well, you don't strike me as someone who would be that way. You know, I think a lot of people would have a lot of attachment to that home.
Oh yeah,
You know, and the memories, and with Chase and everything else. I think this is part of your mentality, which is amazing. It's like, what's that going to do to serve you, right? We take it all with us, the important
it's
stuff,
all up here.
right? No, it's true, but it's such a great way to think and to be, and a lot of people haven't gotten there or can't get there. Truly.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's different for everyone.
Yeah. So what is it like being in this new environment? Like, has it kind of like, are you guys kind of like, hey, yeah, like this is new, it's cool. Like, what does it feel like to have like a new everything?
I don't feel like we're the people there that we were here. Like, in the dumbest example is, you know, he can't drink. And so I sometimes wonder if people think that we're not very cool. Because, I mean, you know, that's a big part of socializing, is going out and drinking and eating. And, you know, Selby and Oliver have got us on this vegan train, which is awesome and healthy for both of us. And
is it really awesome, the vegan train?
all but the cheese. We have a really hard time with.
They
giving
try to
up the
dress
good
up that cheese. I'm telling you what, I was in this restaurant in LA, and it was like, you know, Beyonce and Jay-Z and all these people love this place. So we go and we try it, and I'm like, they're trying to pull this shit off to me that this is cheese, and it's not. It's freaking chickpeas and cashews, and it's not. It's
You
not
nailed
happening.
it.
It ain't happening.
Yeah, it doesn't taste the
Vegans.
same, but in
You're
your
all turning
heart,
into
you know
vegans.
you're healthier.
No, I know.
I don't
it's-
use the vegan word. I use plant-based. They said I should cut down on stuff that I wasn't eating anyway. Salt was the big thing. Salt and wine. That's what I miss.
I bet.
Yeah.
So you no wine at all?
They said no, and I took it off for like 4 months. And then they said, well, you can have a glass or two a day.
You can have a little.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and they're like, you can't save up for the Buckeye game on Saturday and have your 8.
Right.
You
have to just be very discerning.
So
So that settles you down then, right?
Right.
You know, it took a lot to rein me in, but here I am.
So you're all veganed out too.
Trying.
Do you eat the cheese though?
We make our own, you know, so like you're saying, we
Yeah.
have Vitamix and it makes really good cheese, but there's nothing like a platter of sliced cheese.
No, I agree.
I buy the 5-pound block of Wisconsin cheddar at the restaurant depot.
So you eat cheese?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
we
there you
eat
go.
cheese.
I mean, you can only you gotta
Except when we're with Selby and Oliver.
right because
There's
Selby
such a good influence
and
on
Selby's
us.
probably like cracking the whip,
She
right?
is.
100% cracking the whip. Got to keep.
She's
gotta
not super judgy, but she knows.
Yeah, we got to keep this guy healthy.
Exactly.
She gives me the stink eye sometimes when I'm cutting the cheese.
That's
Wrong kind of cutting the cheese.
not really.
And with that, I think that's
right.
that's a great way to end this conversation, right? Any other closing words of wisdom? Anything you're thinking like I got to get this out? I want to say this before we close. Anything. And it doesn't have to be a yes. I just like to give people the floor before I close it out.
We just appreciate you wanting us to talk to you.
I mean,
today.
Quint, any chance I can get some Quint and Laura time? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You guys are like so good for my soul. My cup is full today from
No,
you.
honestly, like as hokey as it sounds, the whole find a way and we're better together. I mean, you nailed it. Those are our mottos too, not just chase life.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's keep moving is like it's so
Exactly.
simple but yet so
I kind of miss Who Cares Less Party.
Do you know, speaking of Who Cares Less Party, it's still out there. It's on
Oh,
the
it
show.
is?
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
she's lingering
get
over
my
here.
tank top
She
back
lingering
out.
over here.
Okay.
Like I can only, you can't ride, 2 horses with one ass. So all right guys, thank you. I love you.
We love
I love
you.
you. Thank you for giving me your time and I love seeing your eyeballs and this has just been so special. And thank you Tracy for
Thank you.
facilitating it, my booking agent here. And with that, if you're still out there following your girl, please follow me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. And I will add today, if you're listening to the podcast and you like what you're hearing and seeing, why don't you just send this off to a friend, a family member, coworker, somebody who might like it. Just, send it off. I'd really appreciate it. And with that, keep moving
Chase life.
and chase life.
All right.
Say how incredible. I just watched the episode. I just listened to the episode. I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. I'm like.